back to Slothbox. I'm Lyndon Dixon, joined today by Sajid Abid. Saj, how are you, mate?
I'm all good, mate. How are you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's been a while, but you've got a fight coming up on the 11th of March, and it's been well, pretty much a year since you last fought. How are you feeling going into this one?
You know what? Because I've been consistently in the gym, it doesn't feel like the last time I fought was a year ago, even though it technically is.
Mm.
I feel good. Like I was supposed to fight him in November, but he pulled out due to illness. Didn't really specify, but I'm glad he's made a full recovery, and we're trading 11 next week. And you know what? I can't wait.
You've mentioned the opponent. You're fighting a very game opponent in Mikeysaki. What do you think to him as a boxer? I mean, obviously he pulled out last time because of an injury or illness, but yeah, what do you think to him?
Um, I just think he's another guy who's stepping in my way, so I've got to kind of bring him down.
Mm.
As a boxer, like I said, he's game. He's been with some good names, and former Southern area champion. So he's not to be taken lightly. And I can assure you, this training camp has been nothing but full throttle. Straight, even when he pulled out 5 days before the initial fight, took a week or so off and back on it, waiting for the next time.
You mentioned it there. How has training camp been for this one? Because obviously it's been like a long time if you include last fight's camp. So how long's it been for you? I mean, how has it been?
It's been tough. Okay. I can't say it hasn't been tough. The time I've spent away from loved ones, people who I care about, the sleepless nights, and it's just like it's been constant for the past God knows how many months. So it has been difficult. But something I always stick by and strongly believe is nothing good comes easy. So, if it was easy training camp, then I'd be questioning my work ethic. So no, it's been hard, but it's been worth it.
In times like this, like for boxers yourself that aren't, you aren't world level at the minute, but what in these tough times, what motivates you to carry on? Because like you say, it has been tough, and boxing is an individual sport. You're on your own. So what motivates you to keep going through those times?
Yeah, 100%. It is a very lonely sport, but it gives me an opportunity to not be average. No shade on anyone working a standard 9 to 5, but this gives me an opportunity to chase greatness. So, and to be great, you got to do what 90% of people aren't actually doing. So it's lonely, it's hard, but it toughens me. It's toughened me as a character. It's strengthened me, and I'll show on fight night.
Well, fight night, mate. You're back at York Hall again. How does it feel to be top of a card in a venue like that?
You know what? York Hall actually feels like my home now, considering how my fights are actually going to be. My home fight is going to be at York Hall. It's great. The history behind York Hall is amazing. It is literally the spirit of British boxing. So the fact that I could headline it in the first place was an amazing, amazing moment in my career. So I can tick that off the list.
The fight itself is an English title eliminator. You mentioned it earlier, but does this feel like another step in your career just to get out of the way?
100%. 100%. This should maybe mandatory for the English, so it's a more important fight. Because if I lose this, then I've got to start from square one, and that isn't going to happen. Okay, I'm going to make sure this is the most difficult night of his life in the most respectful manner possible, as respectful as you can be when you're spending half an hour, 45 minutes beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
No shade. I got nothing against him as a person, but he's in front of me. He's stopping me from getting where I want to be. So I'm not going to let that happen.
Well, providing you get that win next week, what's the plan for the rest of the year? Because Lucas Ballinger has the English belt, and like you say, hopefully you're mandatory if you get that win. Is that what you want next? What are we going to see for the rest of the year?
Okay, so we do in fact have a homecoming fight in Derby, 20th of May. That's already been penciled in. So that obviously I'm not looking over Mikey, but that is next on the cards after this fight. Depending on how this fight goes, a fight after that, I want it to be the English. It has to be the English.
Hmm.
I want that belt.
Well, the fact that you've got a fight in May brings me brilliantly on to my next question. I mean, we spoke before and you've admitted that it's sort of got to you, it's annoyed you that you haven't been as active as you've wanted. But is that what we're going to see now this year? Are you aiming to be a lot more active than you have been before?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You know, Steve does a great job in what he does. I put all my faith in him. You know, so I ain't got nothing. I ain't worried about anything. So, you know, it's looking good.
Moving on from yourself and onto some boxing news, I'm sure you know what's coming next. The whole Conor Ben situation is crazy. Did he eat eggs? Did he not eat eggs? The Conor Ben situation. What do you think to it all?
Like, you want me to be honest?
Yes.
How many fucking eggs has he been eating to have someone think that it's his form of heads? Like, mate, and that doesn't make sense to me. But guilty until no, what's the saying?
Innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty. That's the one. I mean, the WBC have passed it. You know, what can I say to that? They're a whole governing body. I'm just a little fire, so I need fuck all. But what will be interesting is whether he does another test with VADA or tries to get cleared up with VADA and at the brick board as well. So, I mean, they're the most important things in my opinion.
Yeah.
Getting cleared with them, not the WBC.
Tommy Fury beat Jake Paul last weekend, and since their family walked you out on your debut, I just wondered what are your thoughts on that fight, because it's quite a Marmite thing in boxing at the minute. Whether influencer boxing is good for the sport. What are your opinions on the whole thing?
You know what? This might be a unpopular opinion, but I think it is a good thing. It's opened doors for a lot of people, a lot of opportunities. If you know people look hard enough for opportunities there. But with the whole Jake Paul and Tommy Fury thing, obviously Tommy Fury's been a professional boxer for a while. He's been boxing since young. But as a professional, you've got to realize he's still a novice. He's still learning. So he's at that learning stage. So it was looking to be a lot more even fight than people would realize. And not just that, let's be honest, Jake Paul had no pressure. He's just some guy who turned up from Disney Channel and all of a sudden he's knocking out all these great MMA fighters and now has basically talked himself into a 30 mil payday against a professional boxer who has a massive name behind him, obviously, Fury family, but hasn't got the experience that people think. He's a novice, okay? But not just that, he had shit tons of pressure on him, a hell of a lot of pressure on him. Like, for a guy to be having that much pressure to perform, look at who you are, you know, things aren't always going to go your way. So, you know, I'm glad Tommy won, 100% Team Tommy. But at the same time, I think Jake Paul has left him count himself, you know, as a novice boxer.
In terms of Tommy Fury, like, I've been thinking a lot these past 3 days, what does he do next? Because the whole Jake Paul thing has been weighing on his shoulders for the past 3 years, like with the pullouts and stuff. Does he just move on, or does he take that rematch and, you know, get another 5-10 mil?
Let's be honest, money talks in this game. So, and not just that, he wants to make, in my opinion, if I was in Tommy's position, I would want to make a more, you know, I want to have more of a dominant performance against Jake Paul after that.
Yeah.
And once the initial fight is over and done with, the pressure's off him, like he knows he's won, he can do it again. Now he's going to do it again in style. So personally, I think he'd go for the rematch and have that nice payday. Who wouldn't? Fuck, Tommy, if you back out, I'll fight Jake Paul for you. Like, you know what I'm excited about?
That's the exclusive.
Yeah. The exciting thing about that is I can eat as much as I want to get to that weight.
Exactly. Kebabs every day.
That's 100%. You know what? One day in my life, I'm going to come back as a heavyweight and just live on a strict kebab only diet and just see what it is. Probably not far, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Moving on, Tank Davis is hopefully fighting Ryan Garcia at some point this year, and that is a massive fight. But who would you pick?
I love Tank. That guy is such an animal, and on that basis alone, like that guy's grit is second to none, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Garcia is the bigger fighter. So as long as he sticks to the jab, boxes the move, on paper it should be an easy night's work. But that isn't the case because Gervonta Davis is just an animal, an absolute animal. So I'm going for Davis. Davis KO.
Love that.
Go.
The next section that I do in most of my interviews is fantasy fights. Fights from different generations and stuff like that, or maybe they just didn't meet in the ring. The first one, who's your pick? Floyd Mayweather or Sugar Ray Leonard?
Oh, Floyd Mayweather. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I just think the guy's defense is just Mayweather.
Next one, Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali?
No, I refuse to answer Muhammad Ali. There we go.
Yeah. Roberto Duran versus Lomachenko.
Duran versus Lomachenko. I don't know, man. I'd say Lomachenko because I don't know how evolved boxing was back then when it comes to angles and whatnot. So I would probably say Lomachenko because the footwork and angling would just make him such a hard target to hit. Don't get me wrong, Duran hits hard, but what's the point in hitting hard if you can't hit something?
True. The last one of these, Tyson Fury against Lennox Lewis.
I don't know. That's a hard one, man. That is like, I want to say Tyson Fury simply because for a heavyweight of his size to move the way he does, it is unreal. So I pass. I'm not gonna give you a definitive answer.
Mate,
make what you want of that.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. But my last question, I hope that 2023 is going to be a big year for you. But where do you see yourself come the end of it? What have you done?
English champion. English champion. Things don't always go as planned. If I was to have this fight against Mikey back in November, providing I won, then the next fight would have been the English. But providing I win this time, I won the English. So by the end of this year, I want the English champion.
Well, mate, as usual, it's been a pleasure. I've been Lyndon Dixon. He's been Sajid Abid. He's fighting next Friday. I think next Friday?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday, March the 11th. Make sure you tune in or get some tickets and get there yourself. And we'll see you on the next one.
My man, thank you.